Well, good morning, PeopleTalks crew. How is everybody today?
Doing good.
Good morning.
We've got folks all over the place. We've got myself, who is at my home office with no camera, and Sarah Marie at her own home office with camera. And Ashley and Brittany, where are you guys?
We are in Vail, Colorado. We have a conference that starts today, so we are out and about remote. And looks like we have the same room, which we do, but two separate rooms here for background. Yeah, so we're going to be joining a conference.
Elder law retreat, right? So
yes, ma'am.
Most people don't realize that People Care is a patron member of the Bar Association, so we work a lot with trust and estate attorneys and elder law and some workers' comp practice, and are very involved in some of the laws and just really forward movement that the Colorado Bar Association makes, and especially you guys are there for elders, senior law, so senior citizens, and they do an amazing job. So shout out to all the elder bar retreat attendees and attorneys that take care of our senior folks. So we've got an exciting topic. Ash, do you want to do an introduction? We'll hop right into our People Talks today.
Yes, we are going to share a TED Talks video with you guys, and it's called The Simple Cure for Loneliness. So I hope you guys enjoy. Come back on for a live discussion. Please participate. We look forward to your responses.
Loneliness is an emotional state that we have when we're feeling disconnected. But our need for connection is ingrained in our DNA. Loneliness is a signal, just like fight or flight, that something isn't right. Loneliness is a public health crisis. But 1 in 5 Americans suffer from loneliness, which means if you haven't personally suffered from loneliness, it's almost guaranteed that somebody you know closely has. It can cause depression, and it can even lead to premature death. But now more than ever, we're living alone. We're spending more time online and less time making meaningful in-person connections. So when emotional storms hit, things like losing a job or going through a divorce or a death, instead of leaning in towards our communities, we've learned to suffer alone. So today I'm going to offer one solution that will bring us more connection and can help cure the epidemic. When I was a kid, I had a really hard time fitting in. I wanted to do whatever I could to belong and to not feel lonely. All I wanted was to find connection. So my oh-so-wise adolescent self came up with a solution. I was going to be popular. I carried this thought process throughout my teens, but the problem was the more I wanted to be popular, the more it fueled my need for attention and approval. And when I was 20 years old, as fate would have it, auditions for MTV's reality show, The Real World, came into town. Now, for a girl still starving for approval and attention, this was my ticket. Now, for some of us, when we think about reality TV, we don't really have that strong of a reaction. Never really watched it, don't quite get what all the fuss is about. But for others of us, we do have a strong reaction when we think about reality TV, and we generally fall into one of two camps. The first camp is like, you literally could not pay me enough to go on a reality TV show. In fact, reality TV is everything that is wrong with our society today. And then the second camp is like, go on a reality TV show? Honey, I should have my own reality TV show. I would be the next Snooki for sure. But with a history like mine, I'll give you one guess which camp I fell into. And at 21 years old, I moved to Brooklyn as part of 7 strangers picked to live in a house. I love this quote by Jim Carrey. He says, "I think everybody should get rich and famous and do everything they ever dreamed of, so they can see that it's not the answer." But how many of you have gone after a goal based off of the feelings you thought you would feel once you accomplished that goal? The real world didn't bring me connection like I thought it would. In fact, if anything, I was lonelier than I had ever been during those 15 minutes of fame. But this lesson propelled me into the work I do now, studying connection. And whether it's the events I produce, or the show that I host, or the coaching sessions I have, everything exists to create connection. Because here I am now, my oh-so-wise adult self, searching for what actually creates connection. And here's what I found. In order to feel connected, we need to feel seen, heard, and valued. You may have heard of blue zones. Blue zones are areas all over the world where researchers have found that people live the longest and happiest lives. So everybody does this differently. Communities in like Loma Linda, California, Okinawa, Japan, Sardinia, Italy. Some pray together, while others, they walk together, and others simply spend more time nurturing relationships with their families. But the one thing that they all do in common is they prioritize connection. They focus on their relationships. What I found is that these societies have created something that I call an anchor of connection. An anchor is created simply by spending quality time with people who see, hear, and value you. But Bea, how do we create our own anchors of connection? I'm so glad you asked. The most powerful way to create an anchor is through ritual. Now, I know when we think about ritual, we generally think about religion or sacred ceremony, but today I want to redefine ritual as something that's not necessarily religious or sacred, but instead something that we're already doing on a day-to-day basis. The key to making ritual such a powerful tool for connection is that ritual is repeated action plus intention. When you combine repeated action and intention, ritual becomes ingrained in you just like habits do. The best places to find ritual are with your friends and families, in your intimate relationships, and within your communities. Now, we've been gathering around fires forever to storytell and connect. For me and my girlfriends, our couches act as the metaphorical fire that we gather around. Every Monday night, we throw on our leggings, we head to one of our houses, we pour ourselves some rosé, we pile onto the couch, and we just talk. We've ritualized Monday nights as a time where we come to connect and fill our tanks for the rest of the week. And while plenty of Mondays we're coming and we're talking about the things that are exciting and going well in our lives, but on lots of Mondays, we come with our tanks empty. Whether that's the small storms that have built up, just daily wear and tear, or the bigger storms, like going through a divorce or a miscarriage. But whether we're grieving or celebrating, we've ritualized Monday nights as our anchor of connection. After Monday nights, I head over to my partner's house, and we have a ritual that we've been doing for the past year or so, where before bed, we each say, "The thing I love about you most today is," and then we both say something really kind about one another. Now, easy enough to do when we're feeling in love. Not that easy to do when we're in a fight. In fact, when we first started this and we were in a fight and I would be angry, it would generally look like this. Hey, babe, do you want to do the thing I love about you, Ma? No. Okay, do you want to just, try it? Psst, psst. Not. Right now, I'm not in the mood. Okay, maybe just once? Okay. The thing I love about you most today is how your eyes sparkle when you're wrong and I'm right. But what I could have never guessed this ritual would do is expand my capacity for kindness and compassion. And now, when we're in a fight, sometimes I even say the thing I love about him most first. It's this ritual that has carried us through our storms. So when our fights could just as easily disconnect us and leave us both feeling lonely, instead we've ritualized our anchor of connection. You know, it's interesting. Now that I know what blue zones are, whenever I'm traveling, I'm always looking for blue zone qualities. And recently, I took a trip to France with some of the same girlfriends who I spend Monday nights with. Landing in Paris was amazing and exactly like you'd think it was if you've never been. The cobblestone streets, the shutters, the windowsills with the flowers, the bakeries whispering, "Screw you, gluten-free diet. You're not welcome here." In France, meals are rituals. So dinners, for instance, they start later and last longer. And whether it's 2 people or 10 people, you sit down and you enjoy the meal for at least 2 hours, and usually 3. The food takes a long time, no phones are out, and when the meal is over, you sit and you talk some more. Day in and day out, the French go back to the table for their ritualized anchor of connection. Our last stop in France was Nice. We arrived 12 hours after the Bastille Day attack, where the truck driver drove through the fireworks celebration, tragically killing 84 people. It would have been so easy for everybody to retreat, to disconnect, to suffer alone. But instead, what we saw were storefronts and restaurants opening their doors. And even just 12 hours after complete tragedy, people went back to the table. They went back to their ritual. We weren't in the mood to go out that night. So we went back to the apartment. We put on our leggings. We poured ourselves some rosé. We piled onto the couch, and we just talked. We went back to our ritual. Because in the face of a storm, in the face of disaster, in the face of complete tragedy, ritual acts as your anchor of connection. Now, my core desire to be liked and approved of, it might never go away, just like your core desires might not either. But what I know now that I didn't know when I was 20 years old, praying that the real world was my answer to loneliness and my ticket to connection, is that connection isn't created by the things we go get. Connection is created by the things we go back to. So my invitation to you today is simple. Don't do something new. Find something you're already doing with your friends and families, or in your intimate relationships, or within your communities. And do that thing over and over and over again. Do it with intention. Do it during the good times, and do it during the mundane. So when the inevitable emotional storms hit, you have your ritual to go back to. you have your very own anchor of connection. Thank you.
Well, you're back. What did everyone think?
That was awesome. I liked it. It was really good.
I think it's funny how semantics make us conjure up different things in our mind, right? Like ritual versus, I think I put in there tradition. That, to me, I think of those things as more traditions when I think of family or certain things. And it's just a word. So, certainly whatever anybody wants in there. And even when she says she gets on her leggings and crawls on the couch, I'm like, no, those are sweatpants. Those are totally sweatpants, but it sounds so much nicer to say leggings than sweatpants. But yeah, I thought it was a lot of food for thought. I'm not necessarily, I'm an introvert. Lots of people think I'm an extrovert, and I'm not. And so for me, I am a retreater. I am much more of a full body. I commit to a lot of things and don't go because it's one of those, not work-wise, but socially, right? Like, yeah, I'm going to show up at that birthday party, and then 2 days before, I'm already trying to figure out how to get out of it because I just don't like social engagement. So I think that listening to this, I go, oh, that sounds horrifying in some respects. But I would be curious. We're at different walks in our lives, the four of us. What maybe start with you, Sarah, and go to Brittany, and then Ashley. What did you guys think for your part in your life right now? How this pertains to you?
I think for me it's interesting because I have 2 kids. I'm a single mom. And for me, I'm an extrovert. I get energy from being around other people. And but at the same time, I mean, I work from home. It's very easy to stay isolated, and I find myself craving that connection with others. And what's interesting, and what I really liked what she said, is that don't do something new, go back to kind of like the familiar tradition or ritual. And so I was kind of thinking on that, like when I'm craving connection with my kids, because even though we're in the same place or we're passing each other, and it's the same way, I'm sure, if you have a spouse, sometimes I don't feel like we're like connecting, or they got enough mommy time, or I didn't get enough time with them. Is like, we'll go to our movie and pizza night. Like, we make homemade pizzas and we watch a movie. And even my daughter, she can be like, mommy, she's like, can we have a movie night? And she just like, that's her way of connecting with me. And so, yeah. But at the same time, I had a conversation with one of my girlfriends the other day, and she was kind of expressing to me her need for connecting with girlfriends. I feel kind of bad now watching this because my response to her was like, I just don't have time in my life right now. Like, I can't commit to a Monday night every night, and that's just the phase of life that I'm in. But I'm like, is that really what I want, though? Do I really want to say, like, I just don't have time for it? So I don't know. It made me kind of rethink, like, what do I actually have time for, and what do I need to make time for to fill myself up in my life?
So I agree in some aspects, and then others I don't. So first of all, when she says routine or ritual, I think routine. And so just day to day, what's your routine? Who do you connect with? And transitioning, at least for my life right now, both of my parents live in completely different states and different time zones. And it's important that I make sure that I have that time to connect, but their moves were fairly recent. And so we have this kind of transition where it was, I would go over and hang out with my parents and get that face to face, but how do you get that connection when you don't live with them or near them or even in the same state? And so, I have Sundays, and my mom always calls on Sundays, and we talk for an hour, and you make sure that you make that time because that's our ritual or our routine, so that we make sure that we both feel connected in that mommy time, right?
Yeah.
And then dad, I am such a daddy's girl, but with my dad, our thing was that we would sit together in the mornings or we'd go out to coffee once a week. And we'd just talk through things, everything from goal setting and challenges for the week and all of those hardships. And we just talk through and I would get so much advice. And so him not living in the state, that's hard because I miss that more than anything and crave that. So it's almost like a shift in that. And how do you get that coffee time when it's not in person? And so you do, I mean, I think you have to find other outputs, and that's what I've been kind of searching for is who's my coffee person now, that my dad's, not here, and how do I change that so that I can have a connection with them?
Use GoToMeeting with your dad, or FaceTime.
FaceTime all the time.
Right? Exactly. Ash, how about you?
I agree with Brittany. Ritual means to me it's routine. What do you do on a regular basis? And Brittany, you were talking about you're in a connection with your mom and your dad. And what I do with my mom is we talk at least once a day. And we always have for years. Sometimes it's, morning and evening, kind of just her way of checking in on me to make sure I'm okay. And she does, I don't need anything from her. So it's like when she doesn't call or I don't call and we got busy, by the end of the day, it's like, oh wait, I haven't even talked to her. Why haven't I talked to her? Or the next day be like, well, why didn't you call me yesterday? I don't know, I got busy. And so it's kind of like you look forward to that phone call, and when it's not there, you're kind of like, oh, is everybody okay? So that's my connection. That's something that I always do every day with my mom. But I am an extrovert, and I do like my girl time every now and then. So we try and schedule a wine night or a dinner night, whatever we can, and we at least try and do that once a month if we can, because I feel that it's very important. It's very healthy, because everybody has busy lives and they're all married with kids, and so sometimes it's so hard for them to step away. So I see where your point is, Sarah Marie, is your mom, you have two kids, and it's not easy to just say, okay, I'm out of here, I'm going to have a girls' night. So we kind of have to plan it in ahead of time to, does it work with everybody's schedule on this day? And it usually kind of falls around somebody's birthday if we can, and then so we'll combine. If it's not once a month, it's once every 2 to 3 months. We celebrate everybody's birthdays that were in those months. So yeah, that's kind of, I guess, my routine ritual that I enjoy doing.
But I think you guys brought up a lot of good points, and one of them is that, if you think about it, some people stay in our lives for, we call them forever friends, or they're, the person that have been with us a very long time, but that doesn't mean our connection stays the same way throughout that forever period, right? So I think we also have to be a little flexible and understanding that sometimes it's us that is the busy one and has chaos in our lives and doesn't have time. Sometimes it's the other person. And there has to be what do I always say at work? We're going to love each other through this, right? That's always my thing. We're going to love each other through it, because you have to go, okay, when I was busy, it was okay, but now you're busy, it's not okay. That doesn't work. And I think maybe how we get together, the ritual or the tradition or the routine might have to look different, right? So does coffee time look different with a different person for Brittany? Does girlfriend time for Sarah Marie look like a group workout? Because she needs to do that, but her girlfriends also maybe are doing that. So, hey, instead of getting together once a week for couch time, what if once a week it's a spin class? And at least it's something that we would do anyway, that we can get together, and yeah, there might be less talking and more sweating and grunting, but at the end of the time, we're going to feel really good about ourselves and get it out. So I do think that there's, we've got to understand that that's going to ebb and flow, right? And then the other thing I think we have to realize is we're different people. And we don't all require the same amount. And we just had 4 of us share. We've got, 20 people watching and on the line. None of us are going to be exactly the same. in what fills our bucket up, right? Like I think she made the comment of sometimes I come in and my bucket's empty and that's how I get filled up. Sarah Marie, you made a comment that you get your energy from other people. I actually don't. I give my energy to other people. And so it's very different for me when I'm giving. When I go home and I'm with my dog or my chickens or, my quiet time, that's when I get refueled. And a lot of people don't understand that. And that's why I think probably Brittany and I come across as extroverts, but we're really not. It's the internal extrovert, right? Like, where with you guys, it's different in how you fuel yourselves, right? And so we have to be understanding to our gang or our colleagues or our friends and our family of not taking all of the time, but actually making sure we give, right? So being honest with each other, what fills your bucket, right? So Sarah Marie, and then we'll go to Brittany and Ashley again. What fills your bucket and what drains your bucket?
Yeah. It's funny because back that same conversation we talked about love languages too, because she was like, I'm doing all these things for other people and they're not giving it back. And I said, well, that's because your love language is acts of service. And so my love language is words of affirmation. I told Brittany this yesterday. And so that fills my bucket. And so for me, actually connection is pretty easy because I can have a phone call with a friend I have done Zoom meetings with my girlfriends before because we literally can't be in the same place at the same time. So let's get on a GoTo or a Zoom or a FaceTime. And so I just need those words from people, those I see you, I validate you, keep going kind of thing. And so I try to communicate that to people as much as I possibly can, that words not only build me up, but also tear me down. And so knowing that about myself is really beneficial because then I know that I don't actually have to quality time or physical touch. Those are secondary ones, but I'm I just need a good word from somebody and I'm, just, okay, got a little bit more energy in me. And so that's beneficial for me.
Good. Brittany, how about you?
So mine's a little bit different and I organize it out, right? So you think about, you come into the day, my downtime is what fills me up, right? And so then when I head into the day, I have to organize and kind of ration out what my energy is and where I'm putting that. And so when I'm organized and I have a schedule and I know how much energy I need to put into things, it's when other stuff gets added in. Last minute or thrown or the schedule changes, that's when my bucket kind of shifts and I'm whoa, wait, now where do I put my energy now? And so then by the end of the day, you feel really drained because your schedule kind of went out the window, which it totally happens and you learn to adapt to it. And
when your battery dies.
But at the same time, that's what really drains my bucket. And then what fills it up is being outside, actually. So outside in nature, going on a hike or a walk, and just being able to get that exercise, that vitamin D. So I usually will do an evening walk with my dog, and that's the best feeling in the world. And I feel more energized from the day doing that and filling my bucket up.
What's kind of funny is I agree with more Sarah Marie on what fills my bucket and what empties it, because my love language is exactly the same as yours. Words of affirmation is number one, and then quality time is second with me. So having those words throughout the day, it fills me up, gives me energy, it makes me positive, it's going to be a great day, and hearing that positive stuff instead of all that negative stuff, because the negative stuff is what drains me. But then you get that quality time to kind of replace that negativity in your day to fill you back up. But then also, what also fills me up is going to the gym, riding my spin bike, because I love spin, and I just get my frustration, anger, stress, or whatever I have from that day out on that spin bike. Just, put some resistance on there and just as fast as you can. And
spin it out.
There you go.
Just hope you don't spin too fast with the bike just sits on.
It's a lot you got to work out there.
Look at her go. So that's kind of what, fills me up when my bucket is empty. I don't think you answered to us, Sarah, or did I miss that? The other Sarah.
Oh, yeah, I like being the facilitator and asking the question so that I don't have to answer. I thought that was just kind of a given at this point. I think that I kind of did. I mean, for me, I think what fuels me up is the time I can spend in my own head of, I'm a little bit like Brittany, and whether it's organizing myself or feeling like I have a lot of responsibility in how I respond. And I don't, and a lot of us don't get the same luxury to just say what's ever on our mind or the first thing that pops into our head. It needs to be appropriate. It needs to be kind. It needs to be filtered. It needs to be encouraging. And to always be feeling like I have to do that for everybody and really make sure that everything that I am saying has been well thought out. That takes a lot of energy to not just say what I think. A lot of self-control, a lot of, I think, growth. And I'm constantly struggling and trying that. I don't think anyone is perfect at that. I think, we look at people and go, oh, that person is really good. No, it's because, they just try over and over again. You get up every day and you go, today's going to be the day I'm going to conquer my mouth, right? Or my eyes or my face. My face usually gives me away. And so that's not why I'm on camera either. I'm still recovering from injury. But I think in some ways, it's interesting because what I'm hearing everybody say, and I'm going to challenge us to look at this week is, for Ashley and Sarah, you're saying words of affirmation are really important to you and that's what you give to other people, but the wrong words can tear you down. And that's a really paper thin line, right? Because if you have someone who words of affirmation don't mean anything to them, that's not where they get their strength and they're just going to say whatever they think, that's a lot of control and power you're giving to someone else. And yet then I think of people like myself where I'm not necessarily fueled or gauged by what someone else is saying. It's more about when I reflect on my own time of what I've accomplished or what I feel that I did to help someone, or even if they don't take it, I can't control how someone views me. I can't control how someone likes or dislikes my decision, but I'm always trying to say, at least as far as my responsibilities, my role, my calling, am I doing what I need to do, whether someone understands it or sees the whole picture or not? And yet you have to then stand in silence with that. And sometimes for people like me, then finding words of affirmation for other people, I have so much energy going into just controlling chaos that sometimes that's really hard to find. And so I think for maybe people like Brittany or myself that are very regimented, very routine, very organized, things are not so, and I don't want to say emotional or non-emotional, but some people think more that way. We need reminders from people that you need words of affirmation. Does that make sense? Because I just go, as long as you have to tell me that I'm doing a bad job, I'm doing fine, right? Like that's my motto. I'm fine. I don't need words of affirmation. So I just assume no one else does either. And I know that's not true, but it's easy to get in those habits. So I do think it's really important that we tell people how to build each other up. I think it's a little dangerous to tell people how to tear you down. Because I think we've all had those courses where people choose to do that. That's sad, but that's kind of life. And I think at some point too, it's why you need that, whether it's your mom or your dad or your friend or your kids or whatever it is, you need someone that at the end of the day, you may not like what they tell you. You may not like, and sorry for my dog snoring in the background if you can hear it. They may not like what they tell you. You may not like how they say it, but as long as it's truthful and you know that they have your back because they're trying to help you grow and they're trying to give you what you need, I would take honesty all day long over false words. And I think that's kind of maybe where she was getting is you have that small group or that one person that you know you can go to. And even if it's hard to say it, they're going to tell you the truth. because in our world of social media and our world of whatever, it's all about sometimes either being a troll and saying mean things just to say mean things, or it's all about being kind and not really meaning what you say, which in my opinion is worse.
Yeah.
Because it's false, right? It's so I think that yes, we have to have that community and that connectivity, and I think loneliness is a horrible, horrible thing. But I think, and it was Robin Williams, and I was going to look up the quote, and I couldn't do 7 things at once on here, but that's what you can tell I'm still recovering. But I think he said something about I would rather be, or something about loneliness. Somebody look it up. But it's you don't have to do it right now. But okay. It was something about Robin Williams had a quote on loneliness, and I thought it was really interesting, and reminded me because his anniversary just came up, and I'm sure he felt very alone in hiding disease. I'm sure he felt very alone in being the person who was the clown out in public, but privately was suffering with depression and anxiety, and what we found out later was Parkinson's potentially. That's got to be really rough. And I think we put on that face way too much, and we don't have enough connectivity that we can really talk to people about what we're struggling with.
Definitely.
Because I used to think the worst thing in life was to end up alone. It's not. The worst thing in life is to end up with people that make you feel alone.
There it is. Thank you.
That's what I'm thinking of.
That's it. Yeah. So I think too, your vibe attracts your tribe. We talk about that all the time, right? And if you're attracting the wrong tribe, send out a different vibe or find a different tribe. I think it really is important that if you look around and you've got false friends, or you've got, what are you either accepting or what are you putting out that is not allowing you to go deeper, maybe with your current group, or do you need to find that? And if it is a priority for us, right? How do you put that routine, that ritual, that tradition back in your life? And so here's your challenge today. How do you put that back in your life to make sure that you're not alone?
Definitely.
So, I think whether it's finding a new coffee partner, as Brittany said, or for Ashley, making sure that you've got that time with your mom, or Sarah Marie, finding out that balance of friends with kids and doing the single parent thing, that is a hard thing to balance, but that's what life is not 50-50. It's not equal balance. It's just not falling down, or when you fall down, you have people to help you get back up.
Absolutely. I think we froze for a second, but we're back on.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. Have a great rest of your week. Lots of good food for thought. So keep adding on some of your feedback on the on Facebook. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the subject. Give advice, talk about what works for you, and have a great week. And we'll see you next week on Thursday at 8:30.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Take care.